Sorry everybody, it's Xilicks here, and welcome to the final episode of the GBA Season 7 Fantasy League. Now this is going to be a full recap video where you'll be able to see all of the different scores and whatnot over the season, as well as we will also be recapping last week just to close things out. And one thing I want to mention before we start is please watch at least to the end, and if you don't want to watch the whole video, at least just skip to the end so you can hear what I have to say. Because there will be a few important things at the end of the video. But yeah, stay tuned. We're going to be going over pretty much the whole season. Alright, so starting off, before we get into the season, we do have to recap last week being week 12. We do have our top player as the Cyan Chimera, I believe I pronounced that correctly, scoring 34 points. Very impressive score this week, as most people did not score very high, as it is the last week. Playoffs were set for a lot of the teams, so not many coaches were playing either to their best capability or they were just trying to have fun on the last week, which is totally understandable. But getting 34 points in a week like that is pretty impressive. If anything is telling of how that week went, our all-star was an offensive Tapu Fini scoring 25 points. I never thought those words would come out of my mouth, but they just did, and I don't care because it is cool. Tapu Fini scoring 25 points with that sweep it had was pretty awesome to watch, and it definitely deserves the all-star spot for that week. Going with the Tapu Fini, we do have our coach of the week as Gym Leader Gio, scoring that 5-0 victory last week. Heading on over to the fan document ran by Dallas Staryu. If you'd like to find this page for yourself, head over to the week 12 tab. Over there you'll be able to see all of the fantasy scores, as well as plenty of other things on the fan document. Make sure you check it out if you want to stay up to date with like playoffs and all that other stuff. So yeah, looking over at our coach of the week, it was Gio and the San Francisco Giants. So depending on which team you picked is which points you'll get. In regards to Gator and Duncan, as their match did not happen, both teams will be given a 0, so if you picked either team, you just get +0, -0. And then looking at the rest of the Mons, we have our top 3 offensive Mons were the Tapu Fini, the Kabutops getting that sweep, and the Kartana also kind of getting a sweep, as it did get a kill and then switch out and then get some more kills. Then looking over at our defensive rankings, we have Tapu Fini again, Umbreon, and Slowking, all tied with number 9, well rather 9 points. Scrolling on through the rest of the points, if you'd like to see them for yourself, remember just head over to the fan document. Alright, so now heading over to the fantasy sheet. This is linked down in the description below. You're going to want to see this to see your stats from all 12 weeks added up and ranked. We will be looking at that in a moment, but first we're going to go over week 12. So yeah, we have Cyan Chimera with our number 1 ranking. If you'd like to find your own name, just go to the document, use Control F, type in your username, and scroll all the way to the right to see your total. Alright, so now let's go over the whole season as a whole. Starting off, our Season 7 MVP was Tangela Boots, scoring 284 points across the entire season. That is a pretty impressive score. I believe there were some people that were very close though. I think he won by just around 20 points, so that is very impressive. We are going to be looking at that in a moment. But yeah, very tight race up until the end. Every week mattered, and it was fun for me to watch all the scores and how close they were, and I'm sure you guys are going to be super interested in that once we go see it in a second. Our top all-star was Defensive Slowbro, getting 2 different all-stars. Slowbro, as we saw, was just a great pick every week defensively. It takes those super effective hits very well, and it can recover off health with its regenerator ability or slack off. It's able to get plenty of different statuses, it's able to get plenty of utility points from setting up statuses like Toxics and whatnot. And all around, if you pick Slowbro as a defensive pick, you were probably getting some points that week. Then moving on to our coach of the season, we have Crimson Seabad and the Detroit Steel Wings. He did just barely miss out on playoffs. However, as far as the fantasy league is concerned, his team probably scored the most points by a mile. He early on in the season was winning games by very large differentials, putting him as Coach of the Week, I believe, 3 times this season, as well as getting, I believe, 4 different All-Stars. So yeah, Crimson had a great season. Unfortunately, you didn't make playoffs, but there's always next time, and as far as Fantasy League goes, you're definitely a winner there. Alright, so the moment that a lot of you have been waiting for is to finally see your names in the ranking. Now, one thing I do want to point out is, as you can see, like with Silver Domo, for example, or I'll tell you what, there's duplicates. The reason for that is because it's just how the document ended up working out. See, they're spelled slightly differently. However, as you can see, they have the same points all the way through, so there's no worry there. All the names, all of your different alts should be next to each other as long as you put the same email each week. That's what matters more. But yeah, as we can see, Tangle of Boots is all the way at the top with 284 points, as well as some of these weeks are blanked out. It either means you didn't play that week or you did play and it just hasn't updated yet, but this total score should always be updated. But yeah, very close. As we can see, number 2, Bonsai Muskrat, just had 269 points, which, you know, 15-point gap. That's a pretty close competition there. And you can scroll all the way through to find your name. As always, use Control F and then type in your name. You'll be able to find yourself and see your total score. Alright, so that is going to be a wrap for GBA Season 7 Fantasy League. Holy cow, did I spend a lot of time on these videos. To give you guys a little bit of information, because I know a lot of people on the Discord ask how much time I put into this. Some weeks I'd maybe put 5 upwards of 10 hours into these videos. It does take quite a lot of time to add up all of the rankings and then make sure all of the documents are synced and out on time. I want to give a huge thank you to Dallas Star U, because week 1 I had to input everything manually. There was no automation, and week 1 we had the most submissions as well. Now, I did get a little bit of help from some of the other analysts when it came to submitting it, and I am thankful for that, but I did probably 2 to 250 submissions on my own, and it just took a ridiculous amount of time. But then I was able to set up a system with Dallas Star U where instead of doing all this work on my own, we would work on it together, and he would have the scores displayed on the fan document as well as automating it. So that was a huge weight off my shoulder, and I'm very thankful that he was able to do that. A couple things I want to say before we close out. If you guys enjoyed the Fantasy League, or if you have suggestions if it were to come back, or really just any type of feedback, please leave it down in the comment section below. I'll definitely be reading the comments, and I'm sure some of the analysts will be reading the comments so they can see what your guys' opinions on the show was as well, because this was the first time doing the show, and obviously it wasn't perfect. A lot of people did suggest some changes that could be made to the rules, and I definitely agree that there are improvements that could be made. I did try my best with, you know, I mean, this was like totally a trial run. We didn't know what to expect. Obviously, certain mons had a clear advantage with the way the rules were set up, while some mons had a disadvantage. So I will, if I get the chance to, revise the rules and bring it back next season even better. And above all else, I want to thank everyone who's been watching each week and submitting and talking in the fan Discord. It's been a lot of fun. Even though this has been a huge time sink for me, I've enjoyed every moment of it. And yeah, so if you guys would like to support me, please check out my personal YouTube channel. I'm not really one for like plugging myself, but it would really mean a lot to me if you guys at least just checked it out. It will be linked down below in the description. That's all for me. I'll see you guys next time. Okay, thanks, bye.